Hey, my name is David, and today we're going to be having a sit down with Lily Kane, who, when I first started on my carnivore diet, I actually watched a bunch of her videos talking all about carnivore. And now I want to talk with her about something much different, and that is about our YouTube channel and her journey. Uh, but we're going to get to talking about all kinds of different things. So sit tight and let's say hello to Lily Kane.
Woohoo! Excited to be chatting and conversating about all things mate, YouTube, maybe emancipation. We'll see.
You will see all of it. So, Lily, tell us a little bit about your just where you're at right now and what you're doing in the world.
Currently, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and my husband and I work together on creating a lot of YouTube content. I also do one-on-one coaching calls, but essentially, it's mainly just eat, breathe, the YouTube, nutrition, meat, exercise, sleep, and just spreading the word out to a lot of people on pretty much stop eating processed junk foods. That's my main driver nowadays because my family, they're not going to eat a carnivore diet. A lot of my friends, they don't watch my YouTube channel. And so I'm trying to reach like the average Joe and people who they do want to lose weight, they do want to get healthier, but they don't want to do something that well, to them is like a little bit extreme. So let's just get rid of the processed junk foods. I think the three big ingredients people could see a lot of benefit by getting out of their diet would be the seed oils, processed added sugars, and the ultra refined grains. And if unfortunately, those three ingredients make up the majority of foods in the grocery store. So I nowadays kind of call the grocery store the garbage stores. And I want to I'm on a mission to revert the garbage stores back to the grocery stores where there's just single ingredient whole foods, meat, fish, eggs, dairy, fruits, veggies, and anything that's, found out in nature.
Well, that's that's a big mission. How did you start out that way with that mission? I know for myself, I was like for like 5 years I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I didn't know exactly what to do my YouTube channel about. But I just knew I wanted to create something. Is this what you started out with, or like what was your what were you doing?
So during the pandemic, I wanted to bring more joy to the world. I just didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And so I just started making YouTube videos. I actually never really watched YouTube. So I had no idea how to do it, what you're supposed to say, how it works, how you edit, how you film. But I just decided, hey, I'm just going to start and we'll figure it out along the way. Wasn't really anticipating making like a career out of it, but I first started by watching Mr. Beast on YouTube. And during that time, during the pandemic, he was giving away cars and money and houses. And I was like, wow, I really want to do that myself. And so I started by making crafts like wreaths and candles and just different DIY crafts from the 99-cent store. So it was like not the cutest crafts, I'll admit, but I was like, if you subscribe to the channel, you can win this craft. And it really didn't pick up or go anywhere. But eventually I just started creating more ideas saying, okay, like what if I did what to get someone for Valentine's Day or what to get your man for Christmas or what I eat in a day. Oh, and then when I posted my first what I eat in a day video on YouTube, it ended up going viral, getting like 500,000 views and so many questions at that point. Like, why do you eat so much meat? Aren't you going to get cancer? What happens if you eat too many eggs? And so the questions started coming in and I started making content around the questions I was receiving. And some of the questions, not being a doctor, I was like, I could talk about it, but I think you guys want to hear it from more of a professional. So then I started doing interviews with Dr. Ken Berry and with um Chafee didn't exist at the time, but different people. And I started incorporating more interviews into the content. And then people started asking me, hey, I'd like to ask you more questions about weight loss. I want to know my macros. How many calories should I be eating? How much protein should I be having? Should I be fasting? Should I be incorporating exercise? Can I talk to you one on one? And so then I started doing one on one health coaching. And so that's also now my second love because initially it just started for, hey, I just want to bring joy to the world. And I started realizing that the it's really hard to be happy if you're not healthy. And so if I could bring the gift of health to some people, then they're going to inevitably likely have less depression, less anxiety, more confidence, less joint pain, feel better in their skin, be a more productive human. And it just, if you don't have your health, it's really hard to have a happy life. I mean, you can do it, but it's just easier if you're healthy. And so I get a lot of fulfillment in bringing hopefully more health to people. And then being able to talk to people one on one during my coaching is also super rewarding versus, sometimes talking to a camera, it's not as nice as when I get to connect with a real human.
Yeah, and it's interesting your story of how you found your like niche. It kind of resembles my. I started just making videos about anything and everything. I couldn't figure out what I want to make videos about, and I finally made this one video where I said, "Hey, I just hit 90 days on carnivore diet," and then that video was like the most popular video I ever did, and then it just kind of fell into that. But um, did you have like this turning moment where you said like this is what I want to do for the rest of my YouTube career, or do you have other channels, or like how did you? Because you just to kind of let people know a little more, like Lily's at like what you're a 250,000 subscribers right now.
Yep.
That's huge. That's massive. Like you're like a celebrity to me, so I'm like thankful that you're on the channel. Like how did you? At what point did you know there's no turning back?
Well, when I originally started a YouTube channel, one of my old bosses was talking to one of my friends, and my old boss was like, she's never going to make it. And that's when I was kind of like, I'm going to keep going no matter what at this point, because I'm going to just prove you wrong. He was kind of a jerk. So I was not going to stop, really. I was just like, I'm going to keep going because there wasn't, um, we didn't have really a need at that point for me to make. I Let me back up. Have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad,
Yeah.
Poor
Oh yeah.
Dad?
Yeah.
Okay,
Look.
so
Yeah.
during COVID, we were reading like a lot of books. My husband had already been exposed to all of these things, but I was watching a lot of Robert Kiyosaki, and he says that one of the best things young people can do for themselves is retire when they're young. And essentially, what that means is most people, they look so forward to retiring. Oh, I can't wait till I hit retirement age. And then what ends up happening? Well, a lot of people end up finding that they need something to get them motivated to get out of bed. They still like to get dressed in the morning. Otherwise, they feel like they're kind of not contributing to society. So people, once they retire, it's like we all are trying to get there so quickly. But once you get there, you end up, you know what? I'm just going to work at the zoo. You know what? I'm going to be the person at Walmart who checks people out because you kind of just want to have something to do. And so, or you maybe start surfing or kite surfing or golfing or sewing sweaters, whatever that thing is, you start doing a hobby. So let's say you like baking and you start baking for the neighbors and baking for the kids at the school. And then eventually people say, hey, can you um, make cookie that example because we're carnivore, but could you make cookies for my party and I'll pay you? And so when people retire and they start doing something that they actually love and a passion that they have, they're just doing something that they would want to do for free, then they end up finding they start to make a business out of it. And so life-wise, I didn't need to make, luckily, I didn't need to make a YouTube channel. It wasn't something that I had to do financially or anything like that. It was just something I genuinely wanted to do. And then as a result, then good things came because I just do videos that I want to do, not because I'm like trying to do it for other people. And so I feel like I got distracted on the question.
No, yeah, no, that's good. No, I'm interested in understanding because like when you first started, you stumbled
Mm.
upon the topic as being like what people were interested in, and then you kept going. Did you struggle with like, is this the what I'm going to do for the rest of my YouTube career, or was there other options?
Yeah, I definitely, from like probably 2 months into talking about carnivores, this is like almost 4 years ago now. It would have been January of 2021. So, okay, 3.5 years ago. A couple months into talking about carnivore, like there's only so much to it. You eat your bait, you look good, feel good, have, lots of energy. You can do a pros and cons video, you can do a mistakes video, you can do a how to start video, but at a certain point it does get a little bit repetitive because you eat meat. Um, Now that said, people are constantly looking for new people are always coming to it. So it's like those people usually don't want to watch your old videos. But yeah, I definitely had been telling my family for a long time, like I don't want to be in the carnivore niche, not because I don't eat a carnivore diet and not that I think I mean, I definitely think it's healthy for people. It's just that I didn't find it as fulfilling once I already said what I had needed to say. But yeah, I slowly have been trying to branch out into different topics and bring on different guests who aren't carnivore and bring on different people to interview who, for me, like challenge my thinking or who expand my thinking. And so, yeah, I didn't want to do it forever, but it seems to be the videos that do really well because a lot of my niche and a lot of my people came to me for that reason.
Yeah, it's a trending topic too. If you're familiar using like Google Trends or something like that, it's just booming, and that's part of the reason I think it's just high demand for the content.
Mhm.
But there's a much more to YouTubers than just the content they make content about because they're humans. So you got other things like you have interests. You have interests outside of YouTube, I imagine, and also outside of diet. Like, what would you say is like your hobby that you have that people probably don't know about?
My favorite thing in the whole world is traveling, and I would have thought I would have had a travel YouTube channel, to be honest. But I also have heard before that you want to do your second favorite thing because if you do your first favorite thing, it ends up becoming your work, and so it kind of ruins your passion. So in a sense, I'm happy I don't do traveling as a YouTube channel, but that's what I watch off camera. That's what I'm gonna watch after we chat. I'm gonna watch some travel vlogs, but yeah, I've been to 19 different countries, and we're going to 7 more here in 3 weeks.
Nice. Where was the last place you were at?
Um, well, the last place would have been the US Virgin Islands, like St. Thomas, St. Martin, but like a country, Japan.
Yeah. Really cool. I just got back from Scotland,
Oh, I love, yeah,
back in July, but it was my first time out of the country other than my deployments, with the military. But it was
awesome.
fun. It was good.
Yeah.
So,
I went to
yeah,
college in
try.
Scotland.
Did you know that about you? Well, of course, I don't know a lot about you. All we know is YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So, do you ever talk about going to college in Scotland on your channel?
Um, it interweaves, as in like,
Yeah.
oh, I went to college and this is what I did. But yeah, it's challenging because it's like you don't want to, there's the fine line of like being too repetitive, but also like you're always having new people come. So
Mhm.
I find that in a year span, so let's say I made from January to December, I made videos. Well, then the following year, I can just make the same January video I made the previous year and then, kind of cycle through because people don't want to watch like old stuff. So, of course, I update it and make it more unique or what I think is a better way of communicating. Because if there's one thing you'll definitely learn being on YouTube, it's people will misinterpret what you say. So, if I say the cat jumped over the moon, people are like, oh my gosh, this racist. She didn't say the dog or like there's something that they like misinterpret. So just getting better about communicating.
That actually leads into a question I've been interested in to hear from you because especially with you coming off of carnivore and being more inclusive of other foods and not just saying like meat only. Have you well you just said you have, but for a different reason, like negativity or criticism, like how have you received that because of the shift or and then also how are you dealing with that?
Have you heard of the 5 Minute Body
Is
YouTube
it like a
channel?
work?
Rena.
Is it like yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I
She
have
does
seen
a
that.
lot of
She
YouTube
did yeah, I see her do a lot of interviews with
interviews.
some
Yep.
people.
So last year I was chatting with Rena. I'll give her credit for it. And I was like, don't people ever say that you're not carnivore because you drink coffee? And she's like, what? No. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. I don't read the comments. And I went, what? You don't read the comments? But you get a lot of great video ideas from there and then the questions, and you want to be able to respond to people and say, thanks for watching and all that. She goes, no way. My mental health, like you're not going to want to be able to do that long term. And I used to read every single comment every day on my wedding in the morning, on birthdays, on Christmas, every single day I would wake up and read all the comments. Try my best to respond to some, but at that point when I chatted with her, I was like, you know what, that'd be really nice for my birthday to not read them. So I didn't read them for my birthday, and I was like, wow, that was a great gift. And then I said, okay, let me try it one more day, and it just hasn't come back around. I just don't read the comments. So
Really?
I'll read them for like the first hour of videos posted because usually those are like the true homies who are like, a video's posted. I'm gonna go and respond and say, hey, thanks for the video. And so I like to see, showing some engagement and drive with the community. But after that, I kind of felt like I was becoming more of a bitter person, not even from mean comments, mostly from just like things where again, if I said something that I thought was super obvious, like drink water, people would be like, why? And I'd be like, oh gosh, is this what society's about? Like people don't know to drink water. So it just made me start to question some things. I was like, wow, we need to get a better education system here. But yeah, I don't read them.
Oh, that's good. Have you I did see that after I did see that you can actually set a filter for comments that you see based off of how many followers somebody has. Have
Hmm.
you have you tried looking at something like that?
I haven't, but that's a good idea.
That way, like if somebody like Dr. Chicken comments on your video, like you get like a you could see it
It usually will notify me if it's someone like
like big.
that. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
so. Yeah. But even still,
That's really interesting though, because I now I won't comment on your.
No,
Oh,
see, that's the thing is
you're not gonna
I
respond to
don't tell
me.
people because obviously if I
Now
tell
the
people,
whole
then they're not going to comment. So I just don't, obviously I didn't make an announcement on YouTube or anything, because then
but
people
now the
will,
whole
why
but
am I
now
going to
the
do it?
now the whole world's gonna know though,
Oh, okay.
because millions of people are gonna see that.
Hey, we
Um,
love the comments because they help drive the algorithm, help the message reach more people. And so if you want to help more people get healthy, please leave a comment on this video here. And if you watch any of mine, I really appreciate even just a thumbs up emoji.
I'm just teasing. People will comment because they're gonna communicate with each other.
That's it. That's true.
Yeah.
But when
Um,
what's interesting is I, in my head, I've never eaten like a carnivore diet, like even from day one, because I've never been on any diet. I'm just trying to eat the foods that have protein, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, make me feel good, taste good, all that. And so it was only because I didn't even, my first ever what I eat in a day video wasn't a carnivore diet video, but people saw what I was eating and they started labeling me and they started saying, oh, that's the carnivore diet. And I was like, oh, really? And so then I started making more content about it. But even there's not a single YouTube video on my channel where I say I'm a carnivore. I watched all of my YouTube videos back in the beginning of this year because I kept having people say, like, you're my favorite carnivore, you're the carnivore girl, da, da, da. And I'm like, where did you hear that? Now, that said, when I watched my videos back, it made me realize I was kind of one of those people who was like, I'm not carnivore. Here's my breakfast, meat. Here's my lunch, meat. Here's my dinner, meat. But I'm not carnivore. And people are like, yeah, you are. It's like if you see an alcoholic, someone who's drinking alcohol for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're like, I'm not an alcoholic. And they're like, okay. So I know that as a viewer, I went back and I watched and I'm like, I never said it. And then I'm like, but if you look at my meals, I could definitely see where people think that. But I had made a video like 2 years ago with like 3 years ago, back, yeah, in 2021, like 10 reasons why I don't eat a carnivore diet. At the time, all of my followers, like 10,000 of my followers at the time were like, oh my gosh, what? But then I just like found that wasn't very helpful for people because it confused people. So I never brought it up again until this year. I was like, okay, I should probably say it again because I don't know. I think people depends on how you call carnivore. You ask my family, they see what I eat, they'd say I eat carnivore. But you ask Chafee, what does Lily eat? He'd be like, no, she ain't no carnivore.
yeah. Yeah, no, I actually spent some time like eating fruit. I even showed one time like my birthday, I ate some cake and stuff. But for me, it's a real slippery slope because I'm like a food addict. If I get eating the wrong thing, I just go crazy and I'll just binge like a tub of ice cream in it and like one evening with some Oreos and just keep going. And I actually recently had a thing like that where I was like, oh, we're on vacation. I'm gonna have a beer or two, and then the beer or two turned into way more than it should have, and it was a whole weekend. And I was like, I got to get back on track. And so I live on a narrow line, and I think there's a lot of people that are like that,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just even just adding a little fruit just kind of throws off the whole rhythm of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get like do you don't feel like you struggle with that or anything?
Well, with alcohol, I've never liked the taste, so that was easy for me. And then with dessert, like I do have fruit. So for me, that is my fulfillment of sweetness. Other people, they have that sweet taste of the fruit and it causes them to go and binge eat Ben and Jerry's. But for me, it's not like that. And maybe this ties into my past being more of an emancipated minor, things like that. But I think that anytime someone puts me in a box and gives me rules, rules are meant to be broken, and that's where I would want to go and do these things. But when I tell myself that I'm doing this purely as a form of loving myself, like I want to, oftentimes, like this is a conversation I have with my clients one on one, is if right now, currently, David, we had a time travel machine and we could have you go back in time and talk to 20-year-old David, you would have advice for him. Don't date this person, get a different job, eat a different diet, da 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 da. You'd have advice for him. And likewise, there's a 75-year-old David out there right now who wishes he could go in a time travel machine and talk to you present day right now. And what's his advice for you? What's his energy levels like? What's his body composition like? How is he sleeping? Is he able to travel without having to fall out of the bathtub? And so, likewise, I like to think of myself as just like doing the things that are honoring my future self and honoring this temporary home, this body, this temple that I get to live in. And sure, cake is delicious. If I really want it, I can make a cake that's not going to totally poison me, or having it once in a while. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I just don't have like the desire.
You mentioned the emancipation and breaking rules and stuff. Looking at your website, you have some talking about addiction and stuff in your family and different types of abuse and emancipation at 16. How much of a role do you think that plays in your life today and your passions and things?
I think it makes anything that is bad easy. So everything that I went through as a kid, having the police come over to our house constantly and having to deal with abuse and all the things that happened as a young person nowadays, like once I became emancipated, I literally felt like chains were broken off of me. And I was like, had a huge sigh of relief that I finally never had to be afraid again. Because when you're younger, it's also you're, uh, well, you don't have many options. You can't really run away where you're going to go. Whereas now as an adult, it just makes that experience was the greatest thing because it makes every day so much easier now that any bump in the road is just a little bump that I hurdle over. And that's why I think I have a lot of joy because I value my life probably a little. I love my life.
Yeah, I can relate. I have a background with also um, abuse and drug and alcohol addiction with my parents and brothers and such went into foster care and the same for myself. And what I've found with me and my wife, she grew up with like a Leave It to Beaver kind of family and upbringing. And so when there's like hardship in our life, with any level, she tends to really stress out about it. And I'm able to stay calm and go like, this is nothing. Like all we had was a tree fall through the ceiling. That's nothing. Like that's not a scenario that happened. But it's just like I don't get as shook by activities of everyday life.
I think like the difference between like my husband and I is he will like overanalyze like before you would start a YouTube channel, you got to make sure it's the right camera and this and that. I'm like, no, forget it. Let's just jump into it. And so that's kind of my
I'm like,
personality type is just like, oh, I'll figure it out. And if I mess up, I mess up.
I'm like your husband. I got to figure everything out. And then in the end, like today, we had some technical difficulties, even though I was sitting here finagling. Um, does your past drive some sort of a passion in like the content you create or how you create your content or anything like that?
Yes.
Yes.
So I will put like subliminal messaging. No, I try to, whether you're religious or not, believe in God or not, regardless, I like to think of Jesus as somebody who resembled joy, love. You slap my face, you can like slap the other cheek, and just someone who just stood up to do the right thing. And
Mhm.
so I try to embrace my inner Jesus sometimes and speak from like, how can I like touch your heart and your life? And then maybe even use certain words to not even resemble like often if people were to take some of my YouTube videos and replace like the word carnivore with like Jesus or something, like they might see a little pattern or a trend where it's just trying to be like the bigger picture. I think like we can get honed in on like, oh, it's the carnivore diet when it's like, no, there's something bigger, deeper going on here. It's the love for yourself that you're going to do this. It's the love for like your family and for this beautiful life that you get to live that you want to choose healthier options for yourself. And so, yeah, just trying to like zoom out in the bigger picture. I think a lot of us, all of our goals is abundance, peace, joy, love, freedom. And so, uh, yeah, I try to like the big picture. I try to say like, okay, what's the video topic I'm going to do? But like, what's the deeper meaning I can bring?
So you bring that to every video, or you at least try to, I imagine.
Yeah, interviews is a little bit more complicated, but yeah,
Well, you brought it right here just now. We talked about Jesus. That's great. I love Jesus. He's great.
me too.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I take it you don't get a whole lot of opportunity to talk about Jesus like outwardly in your content?
So I actually used to wear a cross necklace in the beginning when I started YouTube. But the
Yeah.
cross was it was more for like trendy purposes. I promise there was a like weird subliminal thing I was trying to do with it. It was just a necklace where the cross hung sideways like this versus the cross hanging down like this. And I got
Hmm.
so many messages about how that was like inappropriate or not right. So I just said, but forget it. I'll just take off the necklace because then no one knows like, is she religious? Is she not? Is she like this or that? So I just figured, it's better just to they say not to talk about religion, diet, or not religion, politics, and maybe diet. I don't remember what the other thing is, but have stayed away, though it has been on my heart to talk a little bit more about it. So we'll see if you're gonna push me to do it, I'll do it.
Well, I would encourage. I haven't talked about religion in my content, but if it came up, I would, or if an opportunity or a window, or if it was my passion. It is kind of my passion. At one point I will. I think more of my content will probably shift towards like legacy type stuff to leave behind one day for my kids, and that'll be talked about plenty. But where I'm still exploring content for the channel right now, so like a really infancy stage, and so we'll see where things go. That was one of the things I actually considered when I was thinking about my niche, and now I'm thinking I'm not even going to have a niche. I'm going to be the niche, and my time with you will be the entertainment value or something. We'll figure it out as we go. Um,
I think
so
as long as at the end of the day, I think like that was my strategy too. Oh, I'll just people will just follow me for me. If you give them a
some
niche,
people
maybe. But
maybe
it just depends on like what your goal is. Your goal to make this a full-time job, you probably need to like tell people what they're going to get into. But at least in the beginning stages. But then otherwise, if it's like, no, I'm just doing this for a hobby, for fun, just for my own like diary purposes of creating a video that I can then watch later in life and always reflect on, then you could talk about whatever.
yeah. Talking about making this a living. At what point did you do? How everybody always says like this at this one subscriber rate, you're gonna be like all of a sudden you got no subscribers, now you can go full time. Like what was it at that point where you could go full time and quit your day job?
Mm, that's a hard question because I quit my day job, but I started YouTube.
Really?
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah.
like immediately? Yeah.
Um, we quit our jobs during COVID. I was a real estate agent in Hawaii, and
Okay.
we were kind of just looking for an out to get out of Hawaii, just because we wanted to be closer to family. And if we ever started a family, then there's not as great of hospitals and school systems out in Hawaii. So once COVID happened, we were like, okay, we were one of the lucky ones who got to keep our jobs, but we quit them. So then we were living with my husband's mom, so my mother-in-law, in Pennsylvania in her basement. And that's where it was like, we retired. We're like, if we didn't need to, she would have loved us to live with her forever. But we had different aspirations to like buy a home, be be adults. And so we that's where we kind of just like took our time to like read a lot and think about what we wanted to do. And that's where I just kind of got bored and I was like, I want to do something productive with my life. And I just started making YouTube videos during COVID times because I was like, oh, people are sad and I want to bring joy. And then yeah, so I made it a career before it was technically ready. I don't think I made
Yeah.
any money for, well, I got monetized probably in 6 months, but even that
Okay.
first paycheck was like $100. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was like making money. Probably for the first year of actually making money, I made $6,000 in a whole year.
Oh, really? Really?
That's after like the first, we'll say 6 months not monetized, a year being monetized. So a year and a half, I made $6,000.
Would you say all of that was pretty much through the ads, like
Mm-hmm.
the YouTube ads?
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a lot about diversifying income. Are you, I hear you're coaching and I hear you're getting ad revenue. Is there other stuff that you do that gets, I imagine maybe affiliate stuff or something like that? Like what?
So there's just to like clarify two different words I'll use. One is sponsorships, so that's people who are like literally paying for content, and then affiliates, which are people who like, hey, if somebody you don't have to make content, you don't have to talk about the product, but if somebody uses your link and they buy something, then you'll get a little bit of commission. So that's how I originally started. It's like, oh, hey, signed up for Amazon affiliate program or sign up for different like brands who I use. And then people, if they use my discount code, I'd get a little bit of a kickback, which, for a lot of these, it's like, oh, here's your $10, here's your $20. But it can add up. But it was really once the sponsorships kicked in and they were like, hey, I'd like to pay you to talk about my stuff. And I remember the first time that happened, I was like, what? You want to give me that much money? That's crazy. I was going to make the video for free. So yeah, income wise, my biggest bucket is definitely sponsorships, then AdSense, then my coaching, and then affiliates. Is like, I don't even talk about the companies. It's just kind of on my website and people use the discount code. Cool. But Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually, as small as my channel is, before I ever reached to monetize, I had people reaching out asking me, "Hey, would you review um, our air fryer, or would you do a thing for our sous vide machine?" Like it's interesting. Like people just reaching out, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a bigwig now." Like people know me. It's weird. It's a weird feeling, but I have not gotten the offer for people to just send me money to make a video. So that's really cool that you. I mean, I imagine by now you would have experienced that. But at what do you remember the threshold of like how many subscribers or what milestone you might have been around when that finally happened for you, like that big breakthrough?
I mean, I would say maybe anyway, it was between 5 to 10,000. So it still wasn't even that many subscribers, I feel like.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
don't
the
know what.
base. It's the core. It's
Yeah.
the core. It's a core of like people that really care about what you have to say. To the early adopters.
Hmm.
Okay, so Lily, I got a personal question for you. Uh, while I struggle in everything, and I struggle getting the motivation or the discipline to like follow through and keep on going, especially if I'm not seeing results.
Yeah.
And that happens with diet, that happens with exercise, and in business on this YouTube channel. And sometimes I don't feel like making a video. Did you ever come across a scenario where you just don't feel like doing it, but then what did you do? Did you keep doing it? Did you stop? What was
Great question. So, with
it?
diet and with exercise, I will say a huge inspiration for me is my husband. So, when he was 12 years old, he was overweight. He ended up losing 50 pounds from fifth grade to sixth grade. And at that point, his dad started teaching him about exercise and longevity and mobility. And so, my husband, since age 12 all the way to now 37, has worked out and been consistent with exercise his whole entire life. On vacation, he never took a break. So by being around a positive influence, somebody who, initially when he and his friends were exercising in high school, it's like his friends were starting to see that my husband, when he was working out and exercising as a young person, his friends started seeing him and just grow more muscle. And so the other boys were like, hey, we want to get muscular too. And so a lot of their reason for movement and exercise was to get girls, to get who can be the
Yeah,
strongest, who can be the best. But what ends up happening is as you become an adult and you end up getting the wife and having the kids and da 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 da, well, who cares about movement anymore? I already got the goal. And so I think you have to really focus on like what's your why, because you can have the why of, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to be super strong, but or that's a bad one. You want to be super strong, but I want to lose weight because I want to look good. Or it's I want to be healthy. And when you focus on being healthy, you inevitably end up doing things that help with weight loss. You inevitably do things that end up helping with muscle gains. And so if your focus is health, which you're not, then it doesn't matter if you don't see weight loss. If you weighed yourself by the end of the month and you did all the things, you're like, I exercised, I slept good, I ate the good foods, and the scale number didn't change. Who cares? That wasn't my goal. My goal was to eat good, exercise, and sleep good. And so those ones, as far as movement and eating healthy, I do have my husband with that, which now at this point, if anything unfortunate were to happen to him and he were to go off into Mars or something, then I would still be motivated because I've instilled this like love for myself. And I think that's a thing I would ask, that's where I would challenge people is like, are you really loving yourself? And that's a conversation he and I have often. But then as far as YouTube goes and like business, that's a kind of a different story because it doesn't have to do with loving yourself to create a YouTube video. Have I gotten tired of making videos? Honestly, I think I'm addicted. So no, but have I gotten tired of talking about certain topics? Sure. So that then it's like, okay, well, what am I being passionate about? And it's nice because I do get to interact with humans when I'm doing my coaching. And so I get to see like what questions are they having? What burning desire things are not working? How can I communicate this better? And so if maybe if the goal again is to like to help people as much as possible, then you're going to want to keep going, whether
it's
that be in
crazy.
nutrition or if it wants to be, if you want to help people grow money, if you want to help people spiritually, whatever that goal is, if you're true, like I am here to help people, not like I'm here for the money, then you might see that you don't get tired of doing it. Retire. That's the thing. You got to retire because then you end up doing the
Yeah,
thing that you just want to do it.
yeah, that's crazy because like I've always had this desire to make YouTube videos and content just for the idea of doing it. And then when it's time to make it, sometimes I just get, I guess, lazy. And I just want to like watch TV and eat bacon. So I don't, and sometimes I will skip making content because I'm like, today's Tuesday, it's time to do something, and I'm like, nah, I'll just watch some Big Bang Theory and eat some bacon.
Well,
But that's
maybe that wouldn't be the case if you did quit your full-time job because then you wouldn't
maybe
because yeah,
I wouldn't be so tired.
that too.
I'm gonna tell my wife that it's
Actually,
time for me to quit
now
my
that I think
job.
about it, kudos to you for doing both because there's no way in heck that I could be able to do both. So yeah, I can imagine you're exhausted.
I've actually been trying this to get myself up to actually just make a couple more videos a week, but sometimes just one video a week is I don't know. To me, it's just I'm doing something and I'm staying active and in this realm, and it feels good. Hopefully, finding success. Do you have any other YouTube tips that you could share that, I probably should ask the question, but I don't know to ask the question. Is there anything on your mind that the audience that is interested in making YouTube videos could learn from you? Because I mean, you probably could sit here and talk for a long time about all the things you've learned about making YouTube videos.
Two important things. One, it's always the
Two.
thumbnail. I know you've heard it in every other YouTube video thing, but it is the truth. I will to this day update past thumbnails and videos because I'm like a crazy person probably, and I should just leave things in the past. But I'm like, no, I want them to hit a certain number of views. So I will. It's crazy because I'll have videos that are like dead. It'll say like, oh, there's only been 12 views in the last 48 hours. I'll change the thumbnail. I had a video go from like 20,000 views to 150,000 views just by changing the thumbnail after it had been posted for like months.
Really?
So thumbnails, like people say, really is the most important thing. So start with like that idea. If you can like think of like what's the thumbnail I want to do? Okay, what's the title going to be? Sometimes I just think of titles and I have no idea what I'm going to talk about in the video. Like I have a lot of titles that I'm like, that would be a great title people would like to watch, but what am I going to talk about? So then I have to like find the substance. Um, and then the other thing would be as far as like, like you mentioned, negative comments, things like that. Well, one, I would just not read them. But otherwise, for a long time when I would receive those comments, I would respond to the person kindly, like out of love. And it was like the craziest thing because I had so many people who would like revert what they would say. So, for example, let's say, oh, this girl's like an animal murderer or something. I don't know.
Mm.
Then I would respond back like, I see how you're feeling. I would always just like speak like, what would Jesus say to this person right now? And like people would end up backtracking and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I was attacking you and being so rude to you. I've had people send me emails being like, hey, I was that person who left like 7 comments and I just want to say my wife left me. I just found out I have cancer. Like they would end up like just tell me all this thing. I'm going, I'm so sorry. And so just treat people, kill people with kindness, and then know for yourself too if someone's leaving something negative, it's usually not because they know you. Like they're not attacking you. There's something going on in their life and in their day. And so just like as much as it stinks, because like you can get 100 comments and 99 of them are like super positive and uplifting, and it's that one you'll never forget it. Well, we have to like find peace with it. You won't remember it. I promise. I don't remember what people wrote 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
you'll eventually get over it and just reminding yourself, hey, this person's going through a period of time. This isn't actually a reflection of me. And then staying in your own lane. Because I guess my other piece of advice would be I decided I was making content for like what people's comments were and like defending myself and like justifying my actions when I don't read the comments, I just assume everyone's like super happy that I'm eating this way now. I feel like everyone's like, all I see is butterflies and rainbows. So I keep bringing content that I want to bring without feeling like I have to justify my actions. So you'll find that when you make content for you, it'll be better than like the justification. Or you'll see people make a YouTube video about you with your face on it, and you'll be tempted to want to watch it. Don't. I've never, I've watched it one time, and that was like, again, 4 years ago. And mine actually wasn't very bad when somebody made a video. It wasn't bad, but it gave me so much stress. So I told myself I'd never watch another one.
That's good. Actually, it's interesting you say that because I've watched a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk videos. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard or watched
Yeah.
books
Gary
from Gary
Vee.
Vaynerchuk? He's awesome, and he actually does talk about like those negative people, and don't let them discourage you because that person is probably going through like the hardest time of their life, and they're just taking it out on you. And it's interesting that you have that experience where the person emailed you and just told you all the stuff going on in their life. I imagine you responded back with a lot of kindness and that, like Jesus probably would have in that
Right.
email.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Thank you so much for sharing all this stuff.
of course.
All right, Lily. So we're coming close to time for you to leave because I know you are a busy lady and you got lots of things to do. I want to kind of give you the floor to just kind of talk about whatever you would like to talk about because I know that you have a mission like you shared in this video, in this conversation so far. Um, what are you currently working on, and what kind of goals do you have coming in the future? Or have you even thought of some goals coming in the future?
Sure. So, one of the things that we're actually in the progress of doing is we're creating an app that is going to be just like how some people might be familiar with Chat GPT. There's
Yeah.
the ability for people to interact with artificial intelligence. And so, likewise, we're creating a Lily AI coach. And so people will be able to text and message this Lily AI at all times, which I think is going to be super valuable for people because currently when I talk with people one-on-one, I can like get them fired up and motivated to like do the healthy thing. But if I don't talk to them consistently, then things end up happening or falling apart, or sometimes they have a burning desire question. And unfortunately, I do have finite amount of time. And so it's going to be a way more affordable option for people because right now my rates are pretty, I would think, high for a lot of people as I just don't have enough time of day to be able to talk to everybody I want to. But with this Lily AI coach, it's gonna be cool because people can text it, they can like take pictures, they can like do in-body scans, and then I'll be monitoring from the back end and being able to see, okay, what questions are people reoccurringly having. I'm gonna make more YouTube videos about that to hopefully help more people, but I think that a lot of people need more accountability and like someone to like be there on their like good, you know, you have the angel and the devil on your shoulder, so it's going to be the person who's like pushing you to keep going. And that's one of the big things in the works. And then otherwise, um you know, like I said, the goal is to revert the garbage stores back to the grocery stores and to bankrupt processed food companies. So just a small mission. But you know, it's pretty sad to see, you know, the rising rates of obesity and diabetes. I think it's something like 74% of American adults now are pre-diabetic or diabetic or obese. And it's like, wow, how did we get to this point? And so that wasn't how it was 100 years ago. And it doesn't have to be that way. So I think that the carnivore movement is really great because it's telling people, hey, eat more protein. No, red meat's not going to give you cancer and it's not going to kill the planet. Yes, we want to have healthy fats. You don't have to be afraid of animal fats, but at the same time, I think that some people, when they do a carnivore approach, it can make them fear that they can't have a little bit of seasonings or some mustard or a blueberry. And so, for some people, that doesn't happen with carnivore. Great. I want them to keep persevering and doing wonderfully. But otherwise, like I said, for my family, for my friends, they're not going to eat a carnivore diet. And I don't think that they have to. And I just want people to start eating more single ingredient, real whole foods. And when we have a healthier people and society and nation, um, everyone's going to be, it's going to be a better place to live. If you think about it right now, if you're eating foods that are impacting your brain in a negative way, you might be honking your horn more at some stranger driving in your car to work. When in reality, if when we have more of our hormones in balance and we have more joy and we're not having these ultra processed foods impact our brain cells and our guts and everything, then we will inevitably live in a healthier, happier, more productive society and getting back to nature. Groovy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the AI thing, it sounds amazing. I can't imagine how long it's taken for you to put that together. Or when it'll be. Do you have a projection of when this will be available?
People way smarter than me are putting it together. So that's good. We got actual engineers and people. That
That's
should be
good.
coming out next month.
Oh, wow. Is there somewhere that people can go to like keep an eye out or be like the first to hear about it or something like that?
Instagram.
Instagram. So if they follow you on Instagram, okay.
That's
What
probably
can
where
you
I'll talk
what
about it first. On Instagram at Lily underscore Kane underscore.
okay, and that'll be linked somewhere in the description of this video. Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you for coming and being here. I know you got probably lots of people asking you to come on their channels and talk, and I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us and talk about YouTube stuff. And thank you. I appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.